created a dedicated team for DevEx. The larger we grow, the harder it is sometimes to like have people that have time to work on like DevEx. A certain threshold after which you really need to have a team that can really work on this full time, take care of the issues of the paper cuts of the day-to-day, work on the dev tooling. But when you do that, I think it's important to keep the community going and not make people feel like, well, this team is going to do everything. It's like it really needs to be a group effort. And I think people need to feel for the ownership, basically, right, towards their tooling for their day-to-day and their dev. And then for their dev tooling, otherwise they might feel hopeless, when like kind of they face issues and be well, this team don't have time to like help me, so I'm not going to fix this issue. And so that's not quite what we want. And so like, as you create a team, I think this piece here is really important. It's like to keep for the collaboration going. It's like kind of the culture. You want it to be welcoming and like encourage people to participate. I've been like thinking a bit about like what created this like culture, and like a few things to me that seems like different from other places that I've worked at. I think first is like there's no silos in the front end. People are not prickly about their code. Like this is my code, don't like touch it. We do a lot of large projects. They're just going to touch the whole code base, and like we're fine with that. We want people to do it, and we push people to do it. This is good, and like recognize those efforts. That's like probably kind of the first step. People need to work together and don't feel like if they step outside of their line, they're like going to get into trouble. And then when like we do large project, we introduce like a new tool or like a new way to do things. Then I think it's really important to do it with the community and be open, communicate about it through the channel, post updates about progress, have documents so you can have kind of a discussion about it, and just make sure things are open and that like people know what's happening in the community and that they have a say as like, is this the right direction for us to go in? And then one thing that I do with my team that I try to pay kind of attention to and I really reinforce is like how we talk to people. We are a team that like receive a lot of support requests. Like people always reach out to us with like questions, with ideas. And I think it's important that anybody that talk to us needs like to leave the room kind of feeling good about the conversation that they had so that they're going to come back and like bring more. For example, if somebody reports a bug, it's very simple to just like say thanks, and just like make sure you always say thanks. That is just going to make the person feel better. Just like saying, oh, you're right. Thanks for pointing it out. Thanks for bringing the feedback and then fixing for the issue. Small thing like this go kind of a long way to make people feel good. As we want people to pitch ideas and like bring ideas, not every idea is necessarily like good. And so people are going to pitch ideas maybe you disagree with. And that's fine. You need to make for the conversation being constructive. So make sure that you engage with the idea, that you show like an interest, that you just don't, we don't think this is a good idea right away. Start with showing interest, engaging, like trying to understand what's their goal, why like they think this idea is like, kind of a good one for the company. If you do like an interview, you want for the candidate to leave with a good kind of impression, kind of no matter for the outcome. This is a way to build like kind of a community and all this, like the same thing when like people reach out to you with ideas or with bug report. I think it's really important in the way we communicate to be welcoming of ideas so that people come back. It's like if somebody comes to you, they probably have a problem that they're trying to fix. And so I think the idea is like you might disagree on the solution, but if somebody feels strong enough to bring a problem to you, there's very likely a problem. Then I think it's like to go back maybe to kind of the first principle and like kind of peel out the layer of the suggestion that was made and like talk about the problem first. And then from there, maybe lead towards like kind of a different direction. I think the other thing too is like to try to not have one only disagreement. Kind of most conversations should involve multiple people to like really make it feel, kind of that this is what the group agrees on and like kind of want like to move forward. And I think this is an easier way to have harder conversation if there's like a few people involved that can bring for their different perspective and then potentially even find different path forward that you might not consider. As we grow, I think there need to be a bit more structure into like how we connect with people, not like structure of like how we talk to them, but like to create for the opportunity to get that feedback. Today, what we do is we started a year or two ago to send twice a year, we send a survey about DevEx to get like sentiment feedback. This is actually something we were doing earlier, but we came with like a more formalized version of it, like about 2 years ago, which allows us to like track quarter to quarter for the progress of the sentiment. This helps for us to gauge, are we going in the right direction? One thing to help to get feedback is like meeting with people. Now that we're about 400 people past in the front end community, you're not going to meet everybody naturally. And so we started to do donut channels on like Slack where like people can join. They can be matched, I think, on kind of a weekly basis. We usually do the donut per kind of topic channel. So like people that want to chat about a given topic, they're going to join this like channel versus like a different one, and get people with similar kind of interests or like business area to like meet together. It's a random match between 2 or 3 people. This for me at the very least goes kind of a long way to meet with the engineers, since they might not just like Slack me randomly, but that's a great way to get like little piece of data here and there about like how it goes with them. And also this like connection that we create while we meet. For them, I become kind of a human being. Kind of we can talk about like what we do in life, like kind of the personal side of things. And I think this makes it easier to bring feedback later on because like they know me. If they have feedback, they know that I'm a nice person, and that I will listen. Then embeds, I think, is really important. That especially when you start to have a team that is dedicated to the DevEx. I think like the risk of what happened here is like as you work only on DevEx, your day-to-day is very different than your users. It's really important to keep for this empathy and this kind of understanding of like what people go through day-to-day, because otherwise you might disconnect, and that's like an active risk of, I think, DevEx team is like not really understanding what is the actual issues that people are facing. And so embeds, we do them in and out of the team. And so in is somebody coming to work with us. This is something we do very often when like somebody bring up like an idea or something. We're going to be, well, wouldn't you like to build it with us? We would love to like help and like support. And like you might come work with us on this for like 2 weeks and like make it happen. And then out is like something that I drive with the manager where like we're like trying to get everybody at least once a year to go on like a different team to spend like a few weeks with them with kind of a team building the product, like using the tool we build so that they can get this feel and this understanding for like kind of what is the work that the other people are actually doing. That's about what we do around the embeds. And when like you go out, it also creates for this connection where like working together brings people closer together because they know you. It's easier to get feedback because you're not just a random person in a Slack channel. You're like somebody that they know and that they can reach out to. And so like in like kind of both direction, one of the benefits is that the people connection is really, really important. So in terms of like metrics, that are kind of down funnel metrics that like we can look to know if we're going in the right direction. We think DORA is like usually pretty good. It's like kind of standard across for the industry for the most part. And then we also do DX surveys where like we follow for the sentiment, which I think had another layer that is maybe harder to track with actual like metric. And then we also do a lot to like track for the local dev experience. So, how long does it take for the TypeScript server to autocomplete? How long does the local dev server take to boot, to like reload? So like a lot of also kind of more of like kind of an operational metric. I think here, like one thing that is important, kind of DORA and like high level metrics, they usually show for the output of the process. They're a good indication of like the direction we go in. But there's so many criteria that like go in it that I think they don't make like for good targets. As an engineering manager, if you're telling your team, well, make like lead time that much better, or it might be hard to know where to start and like where to get there. It's like, I think it's important that like when like you judge success of a team, maybe more on the operational metrics of like kind of a metrics that is going to have like an impact on the output. And then you kind of need to make kind of a bet and like use, kind of your judgment as like what is most likely to work. But teams should be judged, based on the work that they do and the impact they have on the metrics that they control directly, not really on like DORA metric, which I think would be kind of a mistake. And like, where like do you start to like even fix those metrics? Well, you need to start with up funnel, what is going to transform it into DevEx metrics. And so I think like this like distinction is important. And I think sometimes we like might only look at the output because that's what we tend to report. But those are great signals, but they're not like what you want to like talk about with a team in terms of like what their work needs to be. I think you need like a balance in your roadmap about like what is kind of long-term big goals and like sometimes getting like short wins. And that is like because like when like somebody report a bug or like an issue, well, it feels good to know that this is taken care of like right away. But at the same time, you don't want to only do this and like only be reactive. I'm not sure exactly like how you reach the right balance there, but day to day or like, week to week, kind of reviewing a bit like, okay, are we tracking on the long-term goal? Are we getting kind of a bug backlog that's like building up? Do we have a lot of people complaining about the same issue? Like kind of finding here the right balance. But like one is just like being reactive as much as possible to like ad hoc requests or like bug report that are coming in your channel, and just show that you care and that you're taking action quick. And so like there need to be a level of reactivity, because if you fix something right away, then like people are for sure going to keep coming and like bring issues to you because they know you're like going to take care of it. Then in terms of like larger surveys, from there, I think it's important to like communicate what we learned from it, what are the results, and like what we plan to like do about it. And then maybe here the important thing is also like to like cater to like kind of keep in mind that like the audience of those results, are like the dev community, specific dev community. And so it's important to like talk to them with like things that are going to resonate with them, and not like too much business metric, that like kind of leadership might care about. And so kind of also thinking of like who is the audience, like different piece of communication. When like you get a survey, you need to like follow up afterward and be like, well, here is the takeaway we have out of it. Here are a few comments we got. And so like, here's what we're going to do. Here is the impact on the roadmap, things that are going to have an impact day to day to the developer.